Hello, my name is Elizabeth Ritter, and I decided to do assessments for my CSPAT project. Why assessment? Because one, when I did my program evaluation of our school and our phys ed program, I felt like our biggest area that I could impact, hopefully right away, was assessment. I felt like that's where we were most lacking, and something that I would be able to improve and have more of an immediate fix to it. The link below, if you have time, check it out. It is by the physical educator. He does a nice interview, a blog with a professor who is at the forefront of assessment, and it's just a really good. It was something that I used and listened to a couple times just to make sure I was on the right page and choosing assessments that were appropriate. Some program needs and potential barriers. I'm going to need the internet. I plan on having students use their Chromebooks. So I need the internet, paper, pencils, Plickr cards, their Chromebooks, phone with a Plickr app on it, and a printer. Some potential barriers were if the internet was down, students forgetting their Chromebooks. It was the end of the year, so field trips, weather, getting stuck outside. Both the boys and the girls were separate at this time. Boys were doing archery. We were doing some ultimate frisbee, ultimate games. So if we had bad weather, which it seemed like most days, we were stuck inside and together. And then, of course, some school programs that we had going on with our sixth graders. So my goal was to develop assessments for an ultimate frisbee unit to improve our physical education program, so that in hopes that with doing the assessments for this unit, then we can carry them over into other units, okay, so that we had just a good basis, a good starting point. My objectives were to develop formative assessments, including peer and self-assessments, and then, of course, developing summative assessments for the unit. So it was an 8-day frisbee unit with sixth graders, and then the goal again was, of course, to create the formative and summative assessments. So this is how it is broken down. So here's after our first day of ultimate frisbee. These were the assessments that I was going to do with the students. So it was a self-assessment at the end of class on cross body backhand and the pancake or alligator catch through the use of Plickers. So this is what I would have the students rate themselves on. I've found that Plickers is really super simple, and it doesn't take a lot of class time, and the kids, get the hang of it right away. It's very simple for them. So these were the two questions. All they needed to do was rate themselves. Day 2 assessments were, again, another Plickers self-assessment, and then more of a summative type of an assessment where they're going to review the skills that we have covered the past 2 days. So this was the assessment that I did with my class. I actually got the opportunity to implement this one. One thing I had completely forgotten when I had done this, because I have used Plickers like once or twice before, I forget that like when you're creating a new set, at the top there's a graded spot and then there's a survey spot. and I don't know why, but I clicked the wrong answer actually, I think I didn't even choose an answer and it chose it for me. So it says like that only 13% got it right and 33% got it right, but it's actually not how it went. If you look through the reports, it's not the actual, like if we're looking here at the question, it's saying that the right answer was back and front, which is obviously down here. But as you can see, most of the students actually picked the right answer. Now, the interesting thing is we did not do so great on choosing the correct answer for, this was in one of my classes. This is not for both of the classes, but we did not do a super awesome job on catches, which we went back and reviewed it and we talked about it after we did this. And then here's the results. And here you can see this is where it should have been a survey, not a graded question, because the students were just, giving me a review on what they felt was best for them, they were most successful with and whatnot between the 2 days. So it shows it as a grade, but really it's just a survey. So I forgot to fix that, which I have done with my other ones since. But not that it matters, because again, the students did not get a grade. It's just something that I have to remember to do. So that was for day 2. Day 3, this was one I was actually hoping to get to, but I did not. But day 3 was going to be a video analysis where students are videotaping. They're in groups of 3. One person is videotaping as the other is throwing to a partner, and then they would just check their video for cues, making sure they're getting all of the cues, and they would use their Chromebooks to do this. Day 4 is a Google Forms. They would, quickly log into on their Chromebooks into Google Forms and talking about offensive strategies and put their name, and then they would just write down 2 offensive strategies that we had possibly talked about in class, or even offensive strategies that they know, and not necessarily ones that we went over in class. And then I want them to also tell me what worked best for their team, and then what was something that their team struggled with. Day 4, again, similar. They're going to go on to Google Forms, but this time instead of submitting it, or instead of having short answers, they just need to check which ones they think are correct. Now, they can check all of the ones that we talked about, or as long as they at least can get 2 of the cues. That's what my goal was looking for on this assessment. Day 6, students again would use Plickers. I just really liked Plickers. It's super, again, like I said, it was super simple, and it doesn't take a lot of class time. We hand out the cards right away. The students know their numbers because they have a number for their warm-up spot. So it doesn't take long at all for them to get that instead of signing into a computer and whatnot. So here was the assessment that I created. Just 3 in all of them. As you can see, I did it correctly this time. I chose survey, not the graded. And then they would just rate themselves on how well they understand the rules and expectations. And then I wanted them to rate their teammates, how well their teammates demonstrated good sportsmanship, and then if how well their teammates followed the rules. Day 7, I apologize about the picture. I know it's blurry and a little bit challenging to read, but this was the students as we were playing our ultimate frisbee game. One team was off. Each team was assigned a different team, and they went through and rated their classmate, a specific person they were in charge of. They rated that person with this rubric. Here were some examples. I didn't specify how they had to, choose where they were at. This was one. The first picture is more of our, a higher skilled student. I did remind the students before, it's not for a grade. It's not meant to, be harmful to anybody. If you have your best friend ever, then you still want to be honest with them. It doesn't help them to say that they're perfect at everything if they're really not, because it's not really helping. The second picture is actually one of our lower skilled students. And here's a couple more examples that the students did. I have a lot, but I just chose a few. And then our final day is a Google quiz, our summative assessment from the unit. And students would go through, again, when they were off, so that it didn't take up too much of class time. While students were off, they would finish, or they would submit their unit quiz. So our program reevaluations, I did a student survey. Some results from the survey: 16 out of 25 wanted to keep doing assessments throughout the school year of themselves and their peers. Something that I thought was interesting, and maybe because we didn't get a chance to do it and I didn't get to really explain to students what it really entails, but 17 out of the 25 students that did the survey said that they did not want to do video analysis, which I think if they at least tried it, maybe if you had that volunteer, then other students may actually change their minds on that. I don't think they maybe fully understand what is involved in videotaping themselves. Again, just making sure they understand that it's, it's all for them, not, getting a grade because they're not doing it the right way. Majority of the students felt that doing the assessments were beneficial for them. When asked why assessment should happen, students responded with things like, it helps us to know what we need to work on, or it helps us to know, or helps the teacher to know that we have learned. And of course, there were those students who did not want to do any more assessment and found no benefit in it. This was the survey that I had the students fill out. So most of them, the first 5 questions, they were just rating on the assessment, and then the last 5 questions were short answer. Some of the students' responses were pretty interesting. Here is